Welcome to another episode of Jamming with Jason. Hey, today I am excited because I have my friend, Dr. Jeannie Arunima, with me from Golden Life Healing. Now, today's episode might be a little bit different than what you're used to hearing, but that's on purpose. And the reason is, one of the songs that comes into my head a lot of times is "What the World Needs Now is Love, Sweet Love," right? It's the only thing that there's just too little of. Well, we're going to talk about probably love a little bit, but about healing as well, because, if you're like most people, your life might seem a little bit out of balance. You might feel like you need to heal, and it's not healing of your body necessarily. It might be, but the world, especially with what's going on right now, we need some healing. And so we're going to be talking more about healing, and I want to bring some of that information to you. So with that, we're going to roll that episode and bring on Jeannie. Hello, Jeannie, my friend. I am so excited to have you here.
That's so great to be here, Jason. Hello, good morning,
Good morning, good afternoon,
and
good
good
middle of the
evening.
night, whenever people are going to be listening to this, right? I mean, that's the beautiful thing about this sort of a medium is people can access it whenever they need to, right?
Exactly.
But yeah, I am excited to have you with me. So, I wanted to maybe just kind of start off talking a little bit. I mean, the company that you have is called Golden Life Healing, right? And
Yes.
so maybe just let's just tee this up a little bit for people about kind of what you do and how you help people. And then I want to dig in because there's several questions that I want to ask you, because I want to help bring awareness to people about some of the healing options that are out there that a lot of people don't know about. In fact, I was just talking to a friend and she's going through a rough patch. And I asked her about a couple of different practices that she could do. And she's like, I've never heard of that. So we got to get the word out there, sister. So
Exactly.
take it
Exactly.
away.
Jason, I'm so glad you had me on today. Thank you so much. And hello to everybody out there. And this is such an important message that healing can come from within. So, a little bit about me is I'm just a regular, ordinary person, a mom. I went to college, I got a degree, I did all that. And then I became interested and actually was called into a healing practice. I had actually an inner experience. It was almost a mystical experience to go and study with a Japanese master healer in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And it had not been in my plan at all. So I was very reluctant, but the chips fell where they did. The doors opened. I found myself in an acupuncture school of ancient Japanese acupuncture and oriental medicine. It was phenomenal. And not only was it the medicine, it was also ancient sacred sounds of the Kodotama principle. So there is so much richness of ancient wisdom within that path. So I found myself as a doctor of Oriental medicine. And after I'd launched my practice a few years in, an extraordinary meditation teacher came to Santa Fe. And the message that I heard as a Christian Catholic upbringing, the message that I heard brought tears to my eyes. I cried the whole way through her talk, and I felt like she was just riveted, her eyes on me. The message was God exists within you, love is in you, love yourself, honor yourself, respect yourself. And Jason, that started a 40-year path of learning to go within through. I learned the ancient yogic practices of centering and going in and meditation. And I realized that there were centering prayer techniques in the Christian world. And I started like putting all of this together in my life. So between the healing and the meditation, I became a mommy, which was my total love and joy and passion, right? And so I followed my children into education. So this is a complicated story because not only did I have 21 years as a doctor of Oriental medical practice, right? I then went into education because I wanted to support my kids. It was too hard for me to use all the energy to work on healing and be the mama. So my
Yeah.
teacher said, yes, take care of your kids. Guess what? I found a passion for literacy. I became a literacy trainer, a dyslexia therapist, and I spent another 21 years training first children in the classroom. Then I went into special education, and finally, at the top of that career, I became a trainer. So I trained adults to teach children and teach children literacy. So I have this vast, eclectic background of 42 years of care and love and healing and meditation all throughout this track. So that's my background and kind of where I came from. So
Hmm. Well, and I think it's interesting because I consider myself an eclectic guy myself. I love that you use that word. That's one of my favorite words, actually. Um, and how, again, so much of the time we think our life is just going to go a certain way, right? We graduate high school, we go to college, we get a degree, we get a job, and we think we're just going to do that for the whole rest of our life. But there's different phases in our life. There's different things that come along, like you said, when you felt that calling to be able to work with that Japanese master. It was like, I don't know, it doesn't, maybe it didn't make sense. And tell me, did it make sense for where you were at in your life to do that?
not at all. But it healed my life. I was very, very sick in my late teens and 20. I had serious trauma. My mother had died. I got on onset of a Graves' disease, thyroid and female, and all kinds of body pain, ache. I was in trouble. And so this was like a call from the universe. At that point, I called it God, like to come to be healed. Not only did I learn to heal myself, I came away with tools to help other people, and I was not expecting that at all. I never intended it.
Well, we've got to dig into that a little bit more too. But I've known you. We're in some of the same programs. We've known each other now for, I don't know, a year or more, at least maybe 2 years.
Almost two.
But I realized afterwards that you were in New Mexico, but you mentioned Santa Fe too. Are you actually still in Santa Fe right now?
I'm actually in Albuquerque, but
Okay.
we are in the land of enchantment. That's
Well,
the
it is. You see that on the license plates and other stuff. Because I was thinking my wife and I were actually there late October, early November last year. We were in Santa Fe, and so I'm like, damn, I should have, I should have looked up Jeannie or stopped by
I would have
Albuquerque
loved
on the
to
way
see
to
you
or from.
guys.
So we'll end up making it back to New Mexico
Well, and
again.
just
So
for your listeners, the first weekend in October every year is like magic here in Albuquerque because we have the International Hot Air Balloon Fiesta.
yep.
And the chilies are roasting and the pumpkins are out. It's just a magical time. It smells like heaven here at
Well,
that
it
time.
is, and I think too because we recognize too that we both grew up in Boise, which is another hot air balloon kind of area in the world too. Because yeah, I remember we lived on the I don't know, west side over by the fairgrounds, which is where they usually would do all of them. So we'd always be able to see the hot air balloons there too. So
I
yeah,
forgot about that Boise connection. I did grow up in Boise.
yeah, we
Yeah,
went to competing high schools, and I was
I
a
think
few
that's
few
true.
years behind you, but that's all right. We beat you guys in the
You're
in the
talking
state
about my
football.
age now, Jason.
No, you're 29. I know you're
Oh, yeah, no, I'm
29.
28. Perpetually.
but but I wanted to get in because I think one of the things that you brought up here too is when people start thinking about healing, right? There's a lot of uh, misconceptions. We get taught that, well, if you're sick, you go to the doctor, you pop a couple of pills, and that's how you get better. That's how you heal your body. But like you said, you've learned some of the ancient ways that have been around for a long time. I mean, way before pharmaceutical companies and Western medicine has been around. But I think it's interesting, and maybe we can dig in here a little bit more too for people who, because I'm this way, and I'll maybe share a little bit of my story too, because I think I heard you say something about, being raised Catholic, and now all of a sudden these other things were kind of entering in, but that you also kind of realize, well, hold it, there's some of these same things even in the Western religion that I was brought up into, right? Because I think sometimes people think, oh, well, if I was raised Catholic or I was raised Mormon, right, that it's like we have to throw away everything that we were taught as a kid, or these other things that we're talking about, they're of the devil, right?
That's exactly
And
right.
so maybe talk a little bit about that and
Yeah.
your journey and your experience, because I know I've had quite a few aha moments the last 4 years or so that I've been on a more spiritual path myself. But kind of explain where let's dig into that a little bit more, because I know a lot of people struggle with that.
Thank you so much for that question because that's actually a passion of mine that I don't really know how to share in what venue. So I appreciate that question. Boy, I was a devout Catholic growing up, and the family, and Christian friends. And so to go to India and sit at the feet of a master guru meditation, was like sacrilege. And people had that feeling of like, oh, what's she doing? Like, and the Christian world, really, a lot of the Christian religions where I lived, especially like in eastern New Mexico, was very fundamental view. So there wasn't an acceptance of anything else or a reinterpretation. Like it was very, we used to call it, the Bible thumping, like only concrete literal interpretations. And now in my mind, I see that those are limiting to us. And it's not without having faced some fear. Like I had to face, like, is this like evil? And what am I doing? But let me tell you, when I went and studied with my meditation teacher, the effect of being in her presence was like being in a wave of love, like a divine, incredible crucible of just nothing but so much love that it just touched the heart. The tears would come. And every time I was in her presence or sat with her, we call meditation sat. So it was like a deep, prayerful experience. Every time, all I would experience is God's love, divine love. She never taught anything else. And it was just a semantic kind of thing or perception that differentiated people's belief. Like I've had closest friends who are Mormon, many different Christian religions, friends from around the world, Hindu friends, Japanese friends. I mean, I've had the pleasure of getting to know some people, and truly, there's a common language to all of us in the heart. The dog is scraping at the door. The dog also has the common language of the heart. And that language is the language of love. So I say to people, whatever you believe, hold that like a treasure and look at it. Most of the people I know believe that all, God or source or their way of seeing is all. It encompasses all of creation. And so if everything is all and from one source, then we're all good. Like I now call that the universe or the divine universe or the quantum field. Like, don't you love the new physics that's coming out and trying to describe existence as it is? Because we're all connected. We're all made of star stuff and energy, and everything else is just semantics, in my opinion, and beautiful culture, right? Differences.
Yeah,
That's
and I think
I celebrate that.
it's interesting because, like you said, regardless of maybe if you're a Taoist or Buddhist or Mormon or Catholic or evangelical Christian, right? There's a lot of common things that kind of roll through, right? And
That's
I
right.
know, a lot of the especially Western religion, not as much in the Eastern religions, but there's a lot of dogma in Western religions. There's a right way, there's a wrong way. Like you said, Bible
Sure.
thumping, it's got to stay within this little this little thing, or it's evil, it's,
Well, it's
idolatry, right? That's another word that a lot of times Christians throw out there to kind of discount anything other than their dogma. And I know for me, I always struggled. I tried to be a devout Mormon, growing up. I was a good boy. I was a leader in the church. I mean, I tried to do everything that I was supposed to do, but I always knew there were always questions because everything didn't fit inside that little box for me. And there came a point in time where it was like, I just can't do this anymore. And I threw everything out, right? I went from being, a Mormon to being an atheist, because it's like, well, if everything doesn't fit right, then nothing can be right. And then I kind of softened and I went more agnostic, and now for the last many years have been much more spiritual and realizing that there's truth everywhere, and a lot of the things that I was taught are still universal truths. They're still universal love. But even something like prayer, you said meditation, and you kind of use the word prayer along with it, that for so long I was throwing it out like, no, we can't pray, right? Because you pray to a bearded white man in the sky, right? Right, I mean, that's what prayer is. Well, I'm not going to do that. But to now having a much different view of what prayer is or can be, in that way that we are all connected together to divine source, to universe, to whatever you want to, and how it relates more to intention than it does to some dogmatic sort of thing.
I'm so glad you shared all that because that's my experience as well. That the container that was handed down in the religions, the dogma, it's there for a reason. It teaches, it protects, it keeps the tribe together, lots of reasons. But the heart of it and the core practice of understanding I'll call it a divinity. And we don't have to use it in a God sense, but a spirit, a larger thing than our human body selves. The fact that that's there, it's terrifying to go beyond the container and step outside of the box. I've seen that with people, with myself, and so it takes a lot of courage. And so the other point you mentioned was to go out of the box and go away forever. No, when you come back around and you see it in a higher view, I might call it a higher view or more expanded view, and you come to treasure and love your upbringing and the parts of it that really do resonate. And I, with you, agree that they go through these common threads, go all throughout our humanity, because I really feel we are one global humanity. And kind of the champion of that I like to point out is like His Holiness the Dalai Lama really had a beautiful global message. No dogma, no separatist beliefs. And the same way my both teachers, it's a one human heart, and that we can grow together, including the dog hearts who keep scratching at the door.
Well, that's okay. They'll be able to
They
come
want to
in
be
when we
on the
get
podcast.
when we get finished. Well, they can feel the energy. That's why they want to come in.
They come
I
into the
mean, but
healing room every time I work with someone. They want to be here. So
yeah, because they know, dogs know. But
they do.
it's interesting too, because I think, again, as you shared, and for me, even now as I go through, I mean, I don't share stuff that I do publicly, but a lot of people, if they knew some of the things that I would do, they'd be like, oh, you're a devil worshiper, you're an idolater, you're a whatever, right? But when you do certain things, or you incorporate certain practices into your life, and you feel that universal love, right? So the analytical part of my brain is going, oh, Jason, you're not supposed to do that. But yet I'm feeling that universal love. And it's like, well, how can this not be the thing I'm supposed to be doing, right? Even though I was taught something different, this is what I am supposed to be doing, because I can feel it at my soul level that it's what I'm supposed to do, right? Even if it doesn't align with maybe what I was taught as a child, it still feels like the right thing that I'm supposed to be doing.
That's such a good point. And when you said idolater, the worshiping of idols, I know here in New Mexico, you see statues of Mother Mary and all the saints all over the place, right? St. Francis. And you see the same kind of thing in the Hindu religion. Like there's all kinds of pantheon of representations of the divine. But, I look at nature being like that. Nature is a symbol of the divine. And I think it takes an expansive mindset to embrace this. And one needs to step through the fear to embrace the totality of who one is. And I think we're in that time in our human evolution and on this planet. We've come to a crux time facing sustainability and all the stress in the world. Like it's up to each of us to wake up to our biggest capacity inside, share our deepest love and with ourselves as well as our loved ones and the world. Wouldn't you agree?
I do. And that's why one of the reasons why I wanted to talk today, right? Because we need to get this message out there to people. And I think, especially the last, there are different, if you're a student of history like I am, there are, different times in history where there have been spiritual awakenings that have happened. And when those spiritual awakenings usually happen, the consciousness of those civilizations change, new inventions come out, standards of living increase. And we're going through one of those now. And the last 2 years especially have been pushing us more in that way, because a lot more people have been hurting. A lot more people need healing as well. And they're looking for some way to do it, because they know that what got us here isn't going to get us to the next point, right? And so maybe we can talk a little bit about healing, because I know you're a healer, and again, that word to some people has a stigma associated with it. But maybe let's go back and talk a little bit about your own personal healing, right? To be able to help people understand some of these other modalities of healing, that you've embraced, that you've taught, that you help people with, because I think a lot of these people don't know about. And again, you don't have to be graphic. Share what you feel like you can share, or that would make sense, but kind of explain to people your journey, because I'm sure that some of the people that are listening are going to very much identify with you, and they're like, damn, I feel just like her, right? So how did you get from that point, of needing the healing to actually being healed? And what were some of the ways that you were able to do that?
Beautiful question. This has been a journey, 43 years so far. Of course, I'm only 28.
I know. It's amazing how you put all that in 28 years.
Time warp. But so when I was 16, my mother committed suicide out of a really sad situation for herself. If they would have only had the meds that they have now, she would have been fine. But so that was very impactful for a 16-year-old girl. And because of the circumstances of my father's remarriage, it was only a few weeks later. It was really traumatic for the family. What happened was I just tanked. My body just went into a horrible stress response, and I contracted Graves' disease like overnight, which is a thyroid condition. But let me tell you, here's what a lot of the women will get. Like when I was 16, I was swimming and working out and always trying to manage the weight. I gained 27 pounds in 2 weeks working out, eating celery. That's how bad the onset of Graves' disease was. I ballooned out, and not only that, I contracted serious fibromyalgia, terrible joint pains. They didn't know if I had arthritis. I was severely depressed, and I just tanked. I was in so much pain, depression, horrible, right? The ironic thing is, two things happened. That mystical vision sending me to Santa Fe happened 3 years later, But also at that same time, I had an experience where I really screamed out to God. I was like, I need you. I was in so much pain, like, help me. I'd been to all the Western doctors. We'd gone through the radioactive iodine therapy where they kill your thyroid and put you on meds. I'd seen the therapist. Nobody could help me. I was a mess. And the thing was, I looked great. Nobody believed me. My folks, they were like, get up and do the chores. What's wrong with you? And I was truly suffering. I also found a woman who was meditating. Like, I didn't know anything about meditation. And I went to visit her. She lived out in the mountains outside of Albuquerque, and we had the best time. She taught me about herbal tea. She was really on the woo, on the outside of modern, because she knew about healing, a massage therapist. And what I saw on her shelf was a picture of this half-naked, big-bellied, old Indian man sitting there cross-legged, looking beatific. Like, I was like, who is that? And all my alarms went off, my Catholic alarms, like, who is that? And her husband said, Jeannie, that is the great saint Bhagavan Nityananda from India. He is a great saint and a mystic. It's like a Christ being. I said, whoa! Like, that shattered me, because growing up, I was so devout to Jesus. Like, okay, I'll share this. I used to cry in bed at night, just wishing I could have been that Mary Magdalene who washed his feet with my hair. Like, I was that crazy about God, loved Jesus so much. And I was taught, that many of us in the West, that the only being who can bring you to God, or the only being who has divinity, is Jesus. But Jason, is that what Jesus said? Did he not say, you are my brothers and sisters? Like, Jesus didn't say that. Men said that. And so that began my journey toward meditation. And the meditation I bring up in healing because it was my saving grace. And as I learned to meditate, I also went to Santa Fe and started studying. That first day of class with Sensei Nakazono at the Kodotama Institute, I didn't make it to class because I was doubled over in agony passing bladder stones. And I was a teenager. There's no reason for any of this except the trauma that I had experienced triggered all of these things because I'm a natural empath. A lot of us are very sensitive to things, and Western medicine doesn't really know how to go into the sensitivities. Don't get me wrong. I love Western medicine. I'm grateful for my doctor friends, and I always recommend people go get the differential diagnosis and make an entire packet of healing for themselves. It's not one or the other. It's both and. And so my journey, I began to learn to meditate. I began to learn, and I got healed by this medicine. I took treatments at the acupuncture school by my teacher's son. This method that they taught, Sensei Nakazono was a world rank top one. He was at the top of the Aikido. He was master doctor. He was respected and revered. He studied with the original founder of Aikido and the macrobiotics, and he changed the medicine and brought forth the Japanese mode that he did. And his patients would come from all over the world and fly in. This was in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and these were people who were terminally ill or written off by, we're sorry, we can't do any more for you. They would mortgage their house. They would come and see him. And he had a 95% cure rate, which is insane. So I had a great good fortune of being called to study with him. So it was his medicine that saved my life physically, turned it around, helped me get out of the pain, and gave me the tools to go out. And when I could finally go out, I went to India and I served in a clinic at my teacher's ashram, and it was a multimodality clinic with doctors and nurses, Ayurvedic, chiropractors, Bach flowers, what else do we have? Everything you could imagine. It was the most amazing onset of internship for me after I finished my schooling and internship, because I saw hand in hand the things that you can do for yourself go to support the things that medicine can do for you also. And if we just give our power away to the doctor or to an idea, and we don't take the actions that we can to create natural healing within, we're missing maybe the biggest part of the gift of healing. We have to learn to go inside and access these gifts.
Well, I think it's interesting. I mean, you came to this realization earlier on. I mean, because again, kind of time wise, 16, you really start, your mother commits suicide, you start having a lot of these physical symptoms. Sometime between there and 19, you meet this lady who starts teaching you meditation, and she does massage as well. And then you come into the idea of acupuncture and some of the Eastern medicine type of stuff, that really starts healing you. And again, I mean, you didn't really tell in the story so much, but you started going to school there. But I'm guessing too that pretty quickly after starting that and doing these acupuncture and other different things that you were doing there, a lot of those physical symptoms went away.
Oh, thank you. And in fact, I started seeing one of the students even before I saw the teacher's son. And it was only that took away the burning pain in my abdomen and the searing pain of the nerves in my back, up and down. Acupuncture, Japanese acupuncture. It was a freaking miracle for me. Then I had to learn how to eat right and, give up sugar. That was hard, but that was really hard on my body type, right? So I had to learn over the years how to nurture myself, how to eat. And I did all of that physical work, exercise, sleep, hydration, and how to eat for your body. That was the first layer, the physical layer. Because how can you really focus when you're in so much pain or so sick that you're so tired? It's hard to bring in those other practices.
Well, and I think that's interesting too, because what you bring up, because, again, for everybody that's listening, I mean, we're trying to help share some of these different modalities and other things that are out there, because like you said, it's not just one thing,
Mm.
and it's usually different for each person, I think, as well too, right? I mean, you kind of said for your body type, sugar, not so good, right? For other people, sugar might not be as big of a deal, but obviously we want to be temperate, in everything that we do. You shouldn't be down in 10 cokes a day, because that's going to do crazy stuff to your body. But I think it's interesting too that what you said is, it's not just some of these healing modalities, but also even to consider the things that we're putting into our bodies, right? That can end up being the cause of some of that inflammation or other things like that. And I know, I've had some little allergies my whole life. I mean, I remember I lived in Germany for a while when I was younger, and was having these issues, had the allergy tests where they kind of prick me everywhere and tell me the stuff that I'm supposedly allergic to, and I'm like, how can I be allergic to that? I've been eating that my whole life, right? So for most of my life I've ignored some of that. But I remember when I was in the doctor's office over there too, and I was young, I was 19, 20, somewhere in that range, but I remember seeing a picture of the foot, the human foot, and I just stared at that picture. And what it was like a drawing of a foot, but it showed all of the different little points on the feet from a podiatrist, and I think sometimes too from you're going to know what I'm talking about, right? The acupuncture standpoint, even of all of the different points on our feet that are tied to other parts of our body. Like there'd be a little colored area and it'll say spleen, and
Mm-hmm.
another one that would say liver, and some of these different things. And I'm sure too, having studied and doing acupuncture, which I've had done to me a few times, it's freaking amazing. But how connected our body is all around too, and sometimes how work in a particular area can completely change a completely different part of our body because of the connection.
It's really true. And I was fascinated by these kinds of discoveries as I learned about Oriental medicine, because the nervous system of the body is one big connection from the brain, right? And so everything really is connected. Reminds me of that song, the hip bones connected to
To
the
the left.
bone, right? Or whatever, right? Because everything is connected, including connected to our brain, which is innervated by our mind. Like we're going to talk about the connection between consciousness or mind, however you want to call it, awareness, and the human body. It's like and we receive all of this through our nervous system. And our body is comprised of roots of energy, channels, meridians that follow the nervous system. It's just one more layer. So it's the manifestation of the body coming out. And so the fact that something on your foot is able to come up and help your liver feel better is bizarre and miraculous. And from a Western viewpoint, that's ridiculous. But when you see it in practice, as the ancient Oriental medical doctors did for thousands of years, like they mapped these points and these connections out, and it works in practice. I mean, you can't refute it. But it's not a science, it's an art. So there again, you have liver problems, you go get your CAT scan, you talk to your doctor, you watch your fatty foods, you do all the things that we know scientifically, but at the same time, you support your liver through healing modalities, which could be as simple as the modalities you control. You talked about prayer, and the meditation. There's energy work. I love the crystals and magic stones work, like the woo-woo of Mother Earth. These things have energies and they resonate. Oh, and there's the chiropractors and the physical therapy and the shamans and all the magical ways. So we have so many modalities available to us. What's it costing us to have a closed mind when we're suffering? Wouldn't we try anything that seems safe?
Well, and I'm glad that you brought that up too, because I think too, like you said, Western medicine just discounts and poo-poos any of the ancient ways. Some
Some
of it's
medical doctors.
but
Yeah,
but
some of
as an establishment, let's say, right?
yeah.
Because ultimately it's, well, I can't prove it in my scientific method. Okay, I can understand that argument, but a lot of the bigger one is it's economic preservation when you really get down to it, which is unfortunate because they tend to want to band-aid fix it and continue to support people by giving them pharmaceuticals because that's how they make trillions of dollars, at the end of the day. But it's interesting too, because as you said, it's really an art because we are all different, right? And so that's why I like just exposing or bringing awareness to people of some of these different modalities, because what works for me might not work for Jeannie or might not work for you, right, as you're listening. But some combination probably of some of these different things probably will help, right? I mean, I've used chiropractic, and at a part of my life it was very helpful. I don't do that much anymore now because I have other ways that I am taking care of anything like that I may feel from an out of spine alignment, right? I've
Right.
done acupuncture before. I've done massage therapy before, right? I've done meditation. I've done self-hypnosis, which we got to get to and talk a little bit about too, or self-meditation, as well as some of these different things. But it's always, especially I remember this one practitioner that I would go to. It was a combination of chiropractic, acupuncture, and massage. And so what this doctor had is, you'd go in and you'd kind of get all three done at the same point, at the same time, which was amazing, right? And what always surprised me too was especially one of his masseuses. I think that's the right way to
Massage
say.
therapist.
Massage therapists. Okay, was very good. In fact, I believe she was Japanese.
Mm.
But she could, for most of the massage therapists, it'd be like, where are you hurting? What do we need to work on? And I'd have to kind of tell it. Not this lady. She'd come in, she'd turn me over, she'd kind of poke around a little bit and be like, oh, and then she'd go to work, right? And she
Exactly.
knew. And what's always surprised me too about muscle pain is a lot of times, it's like, oh, it hurts right here. Well, it's not that's causing it. And all of a sudden she'd go down to some other part and do blah, 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 and boom, all of a sudden it was like, how did working down there on the bottom of my back take care of the right shoulder blade area? I don't know, but it
It's
works.
magic.
It's
It is.
magic.
It's wonderful. Jason, can I take back to the point about, you know, Western medicine versus alternative medicine or going in within all these modalities? It's not a matter, I just want to emphasize this point. It's not really a matter of one or the other. So it's not my intention being here to say that don't go to Western medicine. Absolutely not. It's a gold mine. But it is the scientific outside knowledge that we look outside in and we have proof, and these are the way the physical world works. But the other modalities, once you get past the physical manipulation type of things like massage and chiropractic, and you start getting into acupuncture and energy work, energy medicines, crystal, these things, these what people affectionately I'll call woo woo. Now you're dealing with inner energetics and the energy of connection, like life force, life energy. So it's not a matter of one or the other. It's truly a matter of having the right balance for you, listening to your own highest wisdom. Because a lot of my patients, when I practiced as a doctor in the old days when I was practicing acupuncture, a lot of my patients would hear one thing the doctor said, and it was not a big thing, but they would take it as that's God, that's total gold, and they wouldn't even begin to explore. They even misunderstood the doctor. Like the doctor didn't say to drink 15 glasses of water a day, or they were afraid to call. So it's a lot of those people that I would encourage to trust yourself. Listen inside. You will be guided to where you need to go. It might be a whisper, an inkling, or a little interest. Like you have like, oh, that massage sounds so good, but I shouldn't do that. It's not, my friends don't do that. No. Check in with yourself and let yourself experience that. Find a place that's safe, because that's really important, to take care of yourself in that way, to trust your own inner intuition. And one
Yeah, 'cause
more point, yeah, one
yeah.
more point, if I may. There's a lot of alternative healers out there that make the claim they can do it all. Like, I really question someone who thinks they can do it all. So be careful, be discriminating, because it takes a team. It's a village, right? We're all here
Yeah.
together, and that's, I guess I made that clear.
Well, like you said, it's not a matter of this or that. In fact, most of life is not a this or that, either or option. It's a yes and, sort of a thing as well, right? But, kind of to your point, just think about what feels like something you need to try, right? I mean, and I've been that same way too, where it's like, especially for most of these things, it doesn't really hurt to try. And the only way you're going to know if it actually would work for you is to give it a try. You can try it once or twice. If you don't like it, don't do it again. Pick something else. But I think that's the important thing for people to realize, that there are options that are out
Yes.
there. And in
Yes.
fact, a lot of these other options have much higher, usually, healing rates than
You put them
others.
in synergy and connection with what you're doing with your meds and your doctor and your exercise and all the things you do. What if you had something so simple that you could just listen to an audio and suddenly relieve your stress and feel so great, and then that tension in the back was gone? Like, what if you could go to massage or acupuncture or the physical therapist and not be in the pain you're in and not be so tired? Wouldn't that be worth a try? I agree with you.
Well, and hopefully people don't get to the point to where, which sometimes you see is like you were at 16, crying out to God in so much pain. Sometimes now that hit you quicker and you and I kind of realize and understand why it happened the way it did.
Mm-hmm.
It's usually not that way for most people unless they experience a big trauma like experience like you did.
Mm-hmm.
But we are, everything is connected. The food that we eat, the things that we drink, the areas where we're at, the things that are around us, and it's our mind too, because that's where, again, I wanted to kind of go with this is, we already talked a little bit about, look, there's places on your feet or places in different parts of your body that are connected to somewhere else, right? And so if you massage this part of your foot, then all of a sudden, maybe your back pain goes away because it's connected. But the one that we haven't talked about that you just alluded to is the mind, right? Because the mind is actually, I think, probably the most powerful thing that we can use in healing. And there's some different modalities that use that I think at first people think, maybe have a religious nature, which in some religions they do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sitting, meditation, some people kind of view that way. But there's, and I know that's where you kind of started your journey, right, with the meditation. But wanted to talk a little bit too about, because I know you do audio journeys, right? And so I know you usually refer to them as kind of meditations, but there's also a thing called self-hypnosis, which is very similar in kind of meshed in with what you do. So let's get in and talk about that, because I think that's one of the easiest, cheapest ways for people to try something without any risk.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm so glad that you're open to this because and you've experienced it for yourself.
Well, I've been using self-hypnosis for about 4 years myself, regularly.
Well, and
So I can
also,
I can attest to how these
yes,
things work.
they're very powerful. And it's kind of like in mindfulness meditation, which I taught in education, mindfulness, they'll take you through a body scan. And basically, it's a guided relaxation. So you close your eyes and you kind of talk through and notice the tensions and all in your body. And there's ways to do that. So that's very accepted in Western medicine, relaxation. And in fact, in the 60s, there was a doctor from Harvard Medical School named Benson, Dr. Benson, and he did a study. This is so interesting. They studied 40,000 human genes, and they wanted to determine the effect of relaxation. And I actually wrote his quote down. I wanted to read to you what they said because this is crucial to health and well-being. They call it the relaxation response. And they found that, quote, those who regularly use the relaxation response induce antioxidation and anti-inflammatory changes that counter the effects of chronic stress on the body. And I don't know if you had heard about it, but not so long ago, the American Medical Association came out and said that this was before the pandemic. 90% of all diseases have their onset in chronic stress. So we know that some stress is good, but you get into that stress every day, every day, every day. The schedule, the go, 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 the environmental stressors, the not getting enough sleep, the media, the waves, the bad food, the need I go on? There's so many stressors on the human body. And that causes disease response. So one of the most powerful things you can do is to use your mind to de-stress your body. Yes, there's exercise and all kinds of great things, but if you're someone who doesn't have a lot of time in your day and you're exhausted, you're too tired to go out and do your walk or your run, if you were to take an audio journey, we're just talking about 15, 20 minutes, give yourself the care of going inside to a deep relaxation response by being guided inside, breathing, you would find that your life would change. Because going inside, I call it going to the inner wellspring, because we all have it within us. And it's not about a religion, it's not about woo woo. It's about allowing your breath to become deep and even, relaxing the muscles of the body, and the stress starts melting away. And in my guided audio journeys, I also bring in this wonderful music that I've picked from around the world, as well as healing frequencies, which is something we can talk about later.
And we'll have to do a whole nother episode on that, because that's one of those areas that I totally geek out on.
I love it. I know you did, so I had to mention it.
Yeah, well, you can see one of the crystal bowls that I got up there and some other stuff
Love
to
it
go on.
so
But, yeah.
much. So sound healing is powerful, and it's included in this, and also guided sensory imagery. When you really bring your mind to bear and you imagine the things that you want and the healing you want, and you imagine yourself in a beautiful, stress-free environment. Like, your body doesn't know the difference. It thinks it's on a mini vacation. And so you naturally get these endorphins, you get the release. And I also use the energy healing that I have been gifted with to infuse these audios. So when you go on my audio journey, you're gonna bang for your buck in terms of healing, and it's effortless. People are telling me how beautiful they are. They're making people cry. A lady had a spontaneous healing of pain between her eyes. I'm like, what? People are sleeping better. I'm getting unbelievable reports, and it's all from your own healing power within, because you stopped, turned your energy, your attention inside, and allowed yourself and your body to debrief, to de-stress, to relax, and you just go into that inner state of stillness for a few minutes. It's a miracle. I mean, it really is. It's the most simple, effective tool you could ever add to your arsenal of healing.
Well, and I think it's, that's too, I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about this, because I know, like you said before, there's a lot of people that are out there that say that they're healers, but they're well-intentioned people, but they may not be as skilled as they believe they are. But there's different, ways that people do this. The fact that you've spent, 40 years, for 28, 40, 48 years, 28 years, studying some of these different modalities. But even, as somebody, as I'm sitting here listening to you, people that are listening don't realize, but what Jeannie just said shows that she knows what she's talking about. And so rewind and hear that again, but she knows what she's talking about, because the music, the frequencies, the way that it is done is set up using some of these different modalities together to really create an experience that all you have to do is listen to. You got to just push play, right? Because I know, for those of you that are listening, you're like, hey, this kind of sounds interesting, right? But I don't know how to do it. You don't have to know how to do it. Literally, all you have to do is push play, sit down, lay down, close your eyes, listen to this thing for, 10, 20, 15 minutes or 20 minutes, and just relax, take that time for yourself. And like she said, I mean, this was medical research that 90% of disease is based on stress. But what if you could feel stress-free for 15 to 20 minutes a day? Don't you think that would help you in the rest of your day? Right. And I know that, we get taught so much of the time about our body, and this kind of comes back to the mind, body, spirit stuff that I've been on a kick about lately, is we get told so much about our body. Do your body. You got to go for your run. You got, eat the right food, go to the gym, right? We get harped on about the body, but people forget about nurturing the spirit and the mind. And these audios, some of these different things that we've been talking about, are ways to nurture the mind and the spirit, which usually get forgotten. And that's one of the reasons why when people say, I feel like I'm out of balance, that's one of the reasons, because chances are, one or two of those three areas in your life, you're not balancing very well. You're neglecting them totally. And something as simple as an audio journey or meditating or a self-hypnosis can actually help you raise those two of those three areas in just a few minutes a day.
And not only that, when you raise your inner feeling, your body follows suit. And if you do this a little bit every day and make a practice of it, it accumulates. Like, people start feeling better. You feel empowered. Your energy comes up. The depressions go away by and large. There's so many benefits to doing this. I have clients who shut their door at work, put their head on their desk, and turn on their little audio. They're all a little bit different length, but they're all about 10 to 20 minutes.
Yep.
And it's phenomenal. Or you can do it before you sleep, because if you're someone whose mind is racing, it's hard to just like put your head on the pillow and go to sleep. We're usually like debriefing in Netflix or something for a while, or a glass of wine, or who knows what. And if you put the audio on any of these practices, as Jason said, this one just happens to be easy. You just start naturally going in, and you let go of the spinning of the mind, and you can sleep more deeply and get much more out of your sleep. So, I think before you asked me like why I made these, and I made them so they'd be effortless and easy for people who had never done meditation, or didn't have to go to the East or do a different religion or study Buddhism or go anywhere you're not comfortable. In your own home, your own office, you can put your earbuds in and listen. It's just relaxing. And I hope that it serves you. If you're thinking of trying it, go to the site. They're very inexpensive, and I would love to hear your feedback.
Yeah, we'll make sure and put all of the links in the show notes too, to golden life health dot or gold, sorry, goldenlifehealing.com.
Yes,
And
goldenlifehealing.com.
there's also an area for where you can look at some of those audio journeys. But too, as you were sitting there talking about it, I think a couple of the things that I hear people complaining about a lot, or feeling like they need something different in their life. Most people feel stressed. Most people feel anxious. Most people feel some sort of fear, right? And they're feeling that every single day.
Yeah.
Most people that I talk to have trouble sleeping, falling asleep, staying asleep, and so they're always tired as well, right? And so, I mean, these are two areas that probably everybody, who's listening, you're sitting there going, yeah, I feel stressed, I feel anxious, I have trouble sleeping. Well, these audios do make a difference. And in fact, I mean, I've never had too much of a problem sleeping, but especially the last 3 to 4 years, I've actually trained myself on how to sleep and how to prepare myself to sleep, using some of these techniques and other things, to where literally when I decide that it is time for me to sleep, and I go through a quick little kind of anchoring exercise, I'm asleep in 1 to 2 minutes. Hey, it might take me 5 minutes some nights, but I'm out, and I'm out all night long. And so, even like you said, I know I was looking on your website too, and you actually have several that are around sleep in particular, because that is a huge area that people struggle with. And when you wake up tired, it doesn't make being stressed any easier. In fact, it makes it worse.
It's so great that you have learned, you were brave enough to go out and seek and learn tools and expand your horizon and be able to do that. Like, how many people are going to fall asleep in 1 to 2 minutes? You know, all the audios that I make have relaxation and can help you go to sleep, except maybe one prosperity audio that's really gets you
Trying to
up again.
pumping you up.
Yeah.
Woohoo! Get you dancing. Dun, 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 dun.
I made it for my web designer because she was getting tired. She goes, I'm getting so tired working. I said, make me a prosperity audio. So I made it for her and we called it Badass Riches. And so I had never made one that had the upbeat tempo like that. I thought, oh, this is a whole new thing. Let's just feel our joy and get moving during the day. So you can think there'll be more of that coming along.
I can see that. I can see that coming.
It's coming.
Well, Jeannie, thank you, for coming on here. You're one of my favorite people. It always makes me smile when I see you, when I hear you. I love hearing your voice. I'm excited to actually add a lot of your audio journeys to my library. I've got a whole library of stuff that I listen
Yes.
to.
And everybody
Um,
should. Everybody should have a healing audio library. There's so many out there. There's a lot of free ones. I have free things on YouTube. There's
yeah.
so many. It's just such a gift. I love that. Thank you
Well,
for
and with the technology that we have today, I mean, everybody has a phone. Steve Jobs' vision of 1,000 songs in your pocket. Well, we
Mhm.
can have a lot more than 1,000 songs on your phone, but it's something that's easy, that's accessible, literally to anybody in the world, wherever you happen to
All
be.
around the world.
And
These audios
so
are already in 17 countries around the world. So
I know
I'm
you've
so
only it's
excited. It's only been open 2 weeks. Yeah,
yeah.
we're thrilled. I just
So
love being here with you. Thank you, Jason. And
well,
thank you
you
to your
you are welcome.
listeners.
Well, and is there anything, as we're wrapping up here too? I mean, anything else that we didn't touch on today? We'll have to do that. We'll have to do the sound stuff on a separate episode
We're
because I want to geek out with you on that
I
too.
totally want to do that too, all about the sound healing and my teacher's sound work. Yes, absolutely. That is great. I do have a message for the world, right? My message for the world is that you are connected to the greatest healing power of source within yourself. It is there for everybody. And I just ask you to do one thing. Really, really, really love yourself. Care for yourself, love yourself, and take the actions that are self loving. Trust yourself. I can't think I'm asking them more than one thing, but trust
That's all
yourself,
right. Keep going.
love yourself, and trust your inner knowing to guide you to the next thing that will help you to live your greatest, fullest, most beautiful life free, embracing well being, and have the life that you want because you can create your own health and well being, whoever you are, and just keep expanding it from here. So that's my message. Love yourself.
Amen to that.
Amen.
Amen to that. Can I get a hallelujah, sister? Woohoo! Right. So yeah, well, and everybody is as we're wrapping up here. I mean, the fact that you have listened to this entire podcast means obviously there was something, if not many things, in today's episode that you needed to hear. So, as Jeannie recommends, just sit with it for a little bit. Something, is coming into your mind of maybe one of these modalities to try, to focus on trying to love yourself more, to be relaxed more, and just do something today. Go back, listen to this again, because if you get to the end of this and you're like, well, I'm not quite sure what I'm supposed to do, well, go back and listen to this again. Right. And with it, when you listen with intention, you will hear or feel what it is that you need to do, and then just take a little action. It's like we don't have to change the world overnight. All we got to do is make micro changes. But as you start making these micro changes, the macro changes start coming and start flooding into your life. So, Jeannie, my friend, thank you for being on. And I'm excited for when we're going to do the one about sound
Can't wait.
here in a
Such
little
an
bit.
honor to be here with all of you. Thank you for listening, everyone. And I just love you all. Thank you.
Thank you.